Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Iblis Manifestations Podcast. This channel features lengthy off-limits conversations with various different artists and entrepreneurs, predominantly from the underground metal scene. We take deep dives into the topics of life, music, spirituality, and take insight from a variety of thought-provoking perspectives from personalities who you don't often hear from in a mainstream settings. I am your host, Cheyenne, and I was originally born and raised in Iran and currently reside in the UK. I am the frontman and founding member of the black death metal band Trivex, who have been active since 2009. The band originally started in the Islamic Republic of Iran, where such type of music is banned as well as a punishable offense. You can check the band's pages for any updates on tour dates as well as new music. I am also a personal trainer and an online fitness coach who specializes in people achieving the best versions of themselves physically and mentally. Having been someone who was once extremely out of shape and overweight, I find it to be my duty to be able to pass on the information and knowledge which I've gained to help others achieve the same transformation. The Iblis Manifestations Podcast also features a variety of solo episodes where I discuss personal experiences and anecdotes in a very candid fashion, covering everything from mental health, spirituality, philosophy, and even paranormal experiences. This is the Iblis Manifestations Podcast. To support it, be sure to subscribe to the channel and visit the link in the descriptions.
It's great talking to you, Cheyenne, really. And best of luck to your endeavors for this podcast. I think it's a great initiative.
You're my favorite person to talk to for interviews and stuff. So I love what you're espousing out here. I love the knowledge and the perspectives that you're curating through this, and I'm just so honored to be a part of it. Thank you.
As I told you, it was one of the most interesting interviews I've ever had, because we talk a lot more things than just music, and I really appreciated that.
I respect you deeply, and it's an honor to be here.
And friends, remember as always, better to die on your feet than to live on your knees. Enjoy the podcast.
We were doing some lifting at the festival last year, and no doubt we'll be doing lifting at Inferno again this year. So that's a perfect segue into it.
And the difference is going to be, this time it's going to be 3 of us, not just 2.
No, I'm not going to be Inferno this year.
You're not coming to Inferno?
You're not going?
No, that's what we can talk about.
That's why he wants to hate on Inferno. That's why.
All right, talk to me, Rauta. What the hell's going on, man? Why you not going to the festival this year?
Oh yeah, okay. So we're talking about festivals for 2025. Well, as much I would like to, in a perfect world, I would love to go to a festival every fucking month or so. And since I've been to Inferno now what, 4 years, there's no reason why not to go there. But I'll be honest with you, so many bands are the same as with previous years, and this includes, well, it's not totally fair, but hear me out. So many bands are the same as with Beyond the Gates and Inferno. So there's a lot of recycling. And when it comes to my point of view, when I travel with my cameraman, is which bands I get to interview. So I'm taking a look at the list from a fan point of view. It looks fantastic. The headliners are good bands. I know their music is good. Their lives are good. And then I'm but I've seen. When I go the list down, I'm seen. Would be nice to see, seen, and you get the idea. So the list goes down. So I'm the bunch of bands I haven't seen within, say, maybe past 3-4 years are the ones that are mostly the smaller ones. And then I'm but what if I got to interview a lot of these bands that are bigger? That would be the good reason to go to, right? And then I'm Abath has turned me down already 2 or 3 times. As much as it would be fun to, interview Abath, both about his own band as well as about the old Immortal days. I don't have any faith that interview could happen. Next up would be Behemoth. He has turned me down at least twice. Not necessarily turned me down, but I mean as like no reply whatsoever from the label, from the representative, and so forth. And then I'm like going down the list and saying like, yeah, at least there's 1349, which I missed in terms of interview when they played in Helsinki in October. And they said yes. But that's just one band. And other bands going down the list, I'm just like this one I have interviewed within past 3 years. This one I have interviewed past 3 years. And so when I go down the list, I'm thinking like, we're going to spend quite a bit of money in terms of flights, accommodations, food, lodging, whatever. I mean, drinks and all. And then there are these festivals I could go to instead. So I'm, in a way, this is almost like a friend is inviting you to play their own show. And then like, I should go because it's my friend playing a show.
Right.
But I've also seen this friend like 5 times live. So you're like, how are you going to spend your money? How are you going to justify not going? How are you going to justify going somewhere else? So unfortunately, this year, 2025, I'm kind of sad to say it. And at the same time, I feel like I just should say it. I'm going elsewhere. So for me, Inferno 25 is not, unfortunately, happening. As much as I love Oslo, as much as I love the event, as much as I like being there with friends, including you two guys, and all, but there is only so much about money, and you know how it is in the world of, you know, being a metal influencer. Money just don't come raining and pouring in. I mean, unless I have some Elon Musk level of dude showering me with cash, like Jeff Bezos is like, oh, Rauta, take all the $1,000.
I'm a big fan, Rauta.
Yeah, unfortunately. Maybe Jeff Bezos one day will find Rauta as great as Lord of the Rings, and then I will be doing this as my day job. But for the time being, you know, you have to make choices.
He'll fly with a rocket into space, but the tip of the rocket has got your face on it, which I can totally imagine, by the way.
And we will do Cliff Burton interview while we fly into space.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be amazing, man. And listen, that's fair enough regarding Inferno. Are you considering maybe going to Winds of Agony at all? Have you seen that one?
That one I have totally missed. Please fill me in.
Oh, bro, that's the one in Barcelona in May. We're playing it, and it's headlined by Beherit, and then Blasphemy are also playing. And you also have... Great question. I'm great with dates, so I should know. I think is it the 12th? 12th of May, is it? Thereabouts? Or something like that?
Because it's probably overlapping Steelfest, which is mid-May.
I think it's a week before that, if I'm not mistaken. Well, tell you what, we can check it whilst we're fucking here. So let's have a look. Winds of Agony. I mean, the lineup is fucking unbelievable. You know, I'm so fucking stoked to actually be playing it. You know, like, to me, I just had my friend Phil from Abduction, and I was saying to him, like, I would have like literally sold my kidney just to attend this festival, let alone fucking be asked to play it. But yeah, it's great. They've got Death Worship, Aura Noir, Blasphemy, Beherit. Yeah, man, it's just fucking unbelievable. Oh, yeah. It's so it looks like 9th and 10th of May is
just before Steelfest.
Yeah. Okay. So with that said, are you gonna be there? Oh, they've got Ripikulu as well, Finnish band, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, Ripikulu
and Darvaza.
And Darvaza as well. Yeah, friends of ours. Yeah, that would be good.
Probably budget-wise, probably not going to happen. But let's just say that there are certain unbudgeted funds.
There we go. Unbudgeted funds. There we have it. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about, I don't know, Jackie, are you doing any other fest as well? Or are we just going to the same ones this year, you and I?
Yeah, so my lineup this year, or at least my intention, is Inferno, Fortress, and Beyond the Gates.
Beyond the Gates, I should be there. We're just at the
cool.
We should definitely have a trio momentum.
Oh, without a doubt. Winds of Agony, I actually didn't even know about until you just mentioned it now, and I'm scanning through the set list, and it's fucking on a sense, the lineup is badass. I'm unfortunately the next weekend I'm in Munich, and I won't be able to take 2 weekends on the bounce. But yeah, definitely those three. What I would say with regards to the lineups, the Inferno lineup this year, the band I'm looking forward to seeing the most is actually Bythos. The other bands, I've never seen Satyricon, so I'm quite keen to see them. And but everyone else I've seen, I've got varying degrees of enthusiasm about that. And it's kind of the same for everything with Fortress. It'll be the first time I see a Cleese, so very excited about that. The thing I'm looking forward to, the live event I'm looking forward to most, is seeing Ruim at Fortress.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
That'll be that. I mean, I think that's the second time only that he's played, and I am such an enormous fan of that Ruim album.
Ruim.
Oh,
Ruim. It's Blasphemer's new band.
Okay.
You know, he did like one album with the red cover, and it's just like the best ridiculous mid-2000s mayhem riffs you never heard.
Oh,
it basically sounds like the sequel to Ordo at KO.
Yeah.
And he actually, when I had him on Into the Necrosphere, he more or less said it's the sequel to Ordo at KO.
So this is Portuguese French band. What? No.
So remember, Blasphemer is from Norway, but I think his wife lives in Portugal.
He lives in Portugal.
But I mean, this is Metal Archive says Portugal, France for Ruim. Is it because of the drummer then?
No, it's because of him living there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what we're gonna have to do when we're in at Beyond the Gates. So Gehenna are playing. We'll need to turn this threesome into a foursome and get Swatolv into this as well.
Yeah, let's do it.
Then set aside an entire day, because I think when the four of us start talking, it's never going to fucking end.
Well, I talked with my camera people just yesterday that we're gonna have 5th day in Bergen, like we did 2024. So we're gonna have one tourist day and 4 days of festival and 1 day just to chill the fuck down, go to a little bit of walking on the hills, mountains, and just not doing much else. So yeah, we will have that time, and it would be fucking great to sit down. And obviously the good thing is that if you just manage to, if you're okay to skip some of the day shifts, then you're good to just organize whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Bergen is such a fucking beautiful city as well, and it's
my
obviously
favorite Nordic city. And trust me, because coming from Nordic countries, obviously, well, I'm thinking what I have missed. Now, I have never been to what do you call the fucking islands where you have the ice, the polar bears and all. How do you say it? Bear?
I don't know how you say it.
I'm gonna fucking Google it so I can say it, because I have no idea how you say it in the English. But I mean, I've been to Iceland. I've been to obviously Norway, Denmark, Sweden. So a lot of these places, and I think nothing can compete with Svalbard was the
small, yeah. That's it.
That's the only part. But I mean, technically speaking, it's Norway. But I mean, that really doesn't count like the continental Norway. But I mean, been to Iceland, been to lots of parts in Sweden, and been to quite a few places in Norway, and obviously very many places in Finland. And of all the places I've been to, and I think Bergen is easily the top candidate. And when I was there for the first time, I realized, yeah, now I get it why these teenager guys was so inspired by the fucking nature. You're really literally surrounded by the fucking mountains, and you have the sea all the way to fucking England. So whatever way you view or take a look at from the mountaintops, you're like, wow, this is inspiring. So I get it, the national romantic take what they have here, whereas Finland is flat. So wherever you go, you're just gonna see the tree lines or seaside, which is beautiful. I live on an island, but I mean, it's not like I get the aerial view, like when you could see when you go to Bergen. So Yeah, I get it. It's so fucking inspiring and beautiful place. So people who go there should definitely have a day off to just do tourism.
Well, I saw you just after you'd been up at the mountain, and then I was on my way there afterwards that day. If you remember, when you and I were
Yeah,
chatting by the in that city center bit, and it was fucking unbelievable because I went up afterwards. Like sometimes you just like, I like being by myself. Okay, like I very much enjoy spending time with friends, with the bands. Of course, I very much enjoy spending time with my partner as well. It's just something about like, sometimes being on your own, just like putting your head down, just going for a walk, grabbing a coffee, just looking around, people
yeah,
watching or nature watching even. And I just fucking loved it that day, because I got the cable car, went all the way up. It's fairly cheap as well to go up.
yeah,
And then you're on top of the mountain, overviewing all of Bergen, and it's just this blissful little fucking hill, and then the city's kind of built into it, and it's still a fairly small city as well. And you
yeah,
got this beautiful scenery and nature there. And then as I kind of went in, there was like a random unplugged jazz band just playing somewhere, and they were so like, I don't even like jazz music, but they were so fucking good because as a musician I can see what they're doing, what they're
yeah.
playing, and
Exactly.
it was just like the perfect mood. And I just got a coffee there because I love my coffee, and it was just fucking great. I was like, fuck, it's like something in the air. You just feel it like, it's like your health bar. You can just feel it like, refilling,
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
just amazing. I love
Energy
that
bar.
kind of stuff. That's it. Yeah. And it's just such a good vibe. And Bergen is like a perfect place for that. I agree with you. I would say it's actually one of my favorite cities I've been to. I would say like Bergen and Edinburgh are like my two like favorite
Oh yeah,
places
that's
ever,
another
I
great
think.
city.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think what people are kind of like missing out when they only go for a festival. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, when you go to a festival as a metal fan, that's the main attraction. That's the steak and potatoes in a way. But when you have the possibility, you should also go a little bit side trekking, like a little bit adventuring here and there. And I know that some Americans, for example, when they come to Steelfest, they are taking their time to see, say, Helsinki, which is like just a 30-40 minutes train away from the small city of Hyvinkää, where there is nothing really to see except Steelfest. So I'm encouraging, like, go to take I don't know, a day in another city. Just take a train and book a hotel if you can, and just see the different vibes, because it is different. And it's different, because you've been to Oslo, you've been to Bergen, that there is this kind of a rivalry going on with the historical reasons and all that stuff, but they're also very, very fucking different cities in terms of the overall vibe. And I think it's just a beauty as an outsider, as a foreigner, when you go to the cities and you smell and kind of inhale the whole thing. It's just like two different breeds. It's almost like here you have coffee and here you have tea. Yes, you can enjoy both, like one by one another and all that stuff. But you can still see the difference. You can smell it, and I think it's just fucking great.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And there's like a part of romanticism involved in there as well, because it's just like, growing up listening to some of those songs. And I mean, you unintentionally just said one by one in the middle of your speech, but then I was thinking Immortal one by one, because they were from Bergen.
Yeah.
And it's like
I gotta mention, not 2024 but 2023, when Höst from Tåke was giving us a private car tour. We missed the second day. First of all, we were doing terrestrial hospice interview outside Bergen. I think it was northern side of the city, and we went a local hiking. Well, we missed the day shift bands. By the time we get back, it was like 5 p.m. or so, and we then met Höst. And first, he took us to the Stave Church, and there's, by the way, you probably know the guy, but I didn't want to mention it in the interview. There's this known black metal musician in the background carrying gas canister, like the kind of a gas can in the background, and I let people guessing who that is because it's a famous musician from the black metal scene, not from Bergen, but anyway. So anyway, he took us to the Stave Church. We wandered around and had a little bit there for talk, and then he drove us to the monastery ruins where the old Immortal video was back in the day done. And then he would like casually point out, oh, by the way, that's where Abbath lives. And like just right around, we would be on the backside, like me and the cameraman. Oh, nice. And we just like, driving about the suburbs. And by the time we were done with, driving through this and kind of a, how to say, this, what you call it, but not sightseeing tour, but kind of anyway. So when he parked his car, he showed that I live here. And there's another mountain, which is exactly the opposite where we met last year, Ulriken. So the smaller one, but still quite big, is actually just behind his house where he lives. And we went there for another bit. So we missed the whole fucking day and evening of events, except the night shift gig, which was, I think, Pentagram that day. Yeah. And I was thinking like, this is fucking crazy. We come to 4 days of a festival and we miss one full day. But then again, I was realizing this is something that, money can't buy, because this is a friend
Absolutely.
Or in Bergen showing the places he grew up. Like this is the courthouse. I've been into so many crimes and shit like that. He was mocking the thing. And I was like, this is not something that you could just like buy in it, like in Oslo. You take the black metal bus, take the ticket, and then you jump onto the bus. This was more like a personally tailored drive around, and you would get to see like, hey, Abad lives there. This is the monastery ruins. That is this, and that is that. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is, some of the best things just happen like unplanned like that. And
I had the same thing with Svartalf when we went to Norway for Inferno last year. That was my first trip to Norway. So he came to pick us up at the airport, and as he's driving us to the hotel, he's like, oh yeah, that corner over there, that's where Frost got arrested for getting into a fight with someone in 1992, blah blah blah. Oh yeah, over here, this is where Euronymous did this. We then went for a walk when I interviewed Idar of 1349, and he like stopped me. He said, like, you see the mountain over there, pointed to this fucking massive house that you can very clearly see from there. That's Satyr's house over there. With no surprise. Satyr also has great taste in cars. That was just I had exactly the same feeling. I said to Paige afterwards, it's like, if you grew up, or if you walked in my shoes growing up, what you've just experienced is something that if somebody had grabbed 15-year-old me and said, like, one day one of the legend of legends is going to drive you through Oslo and point out shit to you that no one else knows about, no one else has ever seen, I would have been gobsmacked. I would have been lost for words. I wouldn't have been able to know what to say to you.
The coolest part was when you introduced me to him, and then he said to me, "Oh, you're the guy from the TV." I was just like, "What?" That was great, brilliant, really, really cool guy. I really should have him on this podcast, shouldn't I? But that was just a cool day, and that was it's just really cool and going there and seeing some of that stuff in person. Even just like Blood, going and seeing that place.
When we went there and we went to go see the famous apartment as well.
Yeah, that's it. And I know some people have their own opinions of that and like, making money. Yeah, whatever. I think it's a cool little fucking pilgrimage site, that as a black metal fan, only as a black metal fan, you will understand how special it is, That's just where I had that weird fucking paranormal thing happen whilst I was downstairs as well. Did I tell you about that?
The Blood one.
Yeah, I had some really weird, freaky thing happen when I was at the basement. This is like 3 years ago now. So it's the first time I ever went to Norway. Managed to get a Schengen visa at the time by the skin of my teeth, because I still had Iranian passport back then. And we went to... I went to visit Atash, the guy who does Kabus. And we were spending a decent bit of time together. And then... we went to visit there together because neither of us had ever been there before. and we were just there for the whole day. And this was like in February, so there was like no events or anything on at the time, and I think it was like a midweek date, so there was like literally no one in the shop. It was just this lady who was very gracious, by the way. She was super kind and just cool to talk to, and then we went downstairs, and obviously, that was the first time I got to see the black metal graffiti thing, and then the whole thing. You got the chair with the Venom thing on it, and then like all the old posters. They got like a bunch of like old Dissection poster there as well from like the Midsummer's Massacre, the last show they did in 2006. So lots of really cool stuff. So I was like nerding out like a motherfucker the whole place, But what was particularly interesting was that at one point, and I suppose it's appropriate that we have this portion of the conversation on Iblis, but at one point, I was in this little room looking through a bunch of T-shirts. And, it's like this little round-shaped room, quite small, and just a bunch of hangers and stuff that you look through. And he said that, China, I'm going to go upstairs and look at the CDs. I was like, fine. So when he goes upstairs, there's no one else left down there with me, right? And I'm just there. I showed Jackie the room for where this happened. But I was going through all the shirts and everything there. And then behind me, I hear this like clumping noise, kind of like that. I was like, oh, what's that? And then I turn around. And by this point, I've already been on my own for like 2-3 minutes downstairs of like pure silence. They didn't even have music playing down there. It was just pure silence, just me browsing through T-shirts and stuff. Turn around. And I see that there's this little hanger and a shirt that's fallen onto the floor. I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. I haven't even like gone to that end yet, And then I could go towards it and pick it up. And I turn it around to see the front of it. And it's this like kind of grayish long sleeve that looks really worn out. And on the front, it's not a band logo, but it's basically just a bunch of communist symbolism and imagery, at which point I was like, holy fucking shit, because obviously, as we know, and again, I'm drawing conclusions here, but Euronymous did used to spend the Mayhem album savings and send money to China because he wanted to support communism. So that was a pretty interesting moment, just being down there in that basement on my own. And then after like 3 minutes of being alone, the one shirt that drops to the middle of the floor out of nowhere is one with a fucking communist imagery on it. I just thought, okay, this is a peculiar, interesting little experience there. So that's basically what happened whilst I was there.
Cheyenne omitted to say he took the shirt and he yelled, "Commie, commie, traitor to the country," threw it in the corner and ran out.
Yeah, and now the building burned because of that.
Yeah.
You just
I don't
delayed ignition.
I know. I shouldn't even laugh. There's a lot of good albums there. Some of my albums there were too. I hope they didn't fucking burn down, but I don't know. It seems to be that it's back up and running now, though, right?
It is, and they've got a display now with some of the burned paraphernalia, the burned merchandise as well. So they've changed. Cool. Yeah, they've changed the bottom.
Jerry
part
gets it.
where the old the old display, they've added a bunch of stuff in there now. So some of the burned shit is all there now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, talking of which, I mentioned this, so it's my fault to mention this, but we also noticed that there is kind of a extracurricular activities taking place at Inferno, which caused some inflammation on the internet for Inferno, because now there were some extracurricular activities. I'll explain to the audience, because now they're clueless as fuck, because some tipsy Finnish guy is saying bullshit. Already a couple of years ago, when I did Vatain interview at Inferno, Eric or Vatain was like, "Oh, what the fuck is this conference? This is all the commercial bullshit and all that stuff, which is not related to the actual event where the bands play and so forth." And now for 2025, it seems like they're having what really got some people mad was there was this, I don't know how to call it, politically correct, but there's this event where, is it bingo or whatever? and people are like, I don't know if they're transsexual, transvestite. I don't know, honestly, but that already ignited people like, what the fuck is this doing here? It's not even related to the events and all that stuff. Now, while I don't really give a fuck. I just think it's kind of weird and maybe misplaced. What do you guys think about it expanding events that were supposed to be extreme metal by the very nature to all these, say, extracurricular activities, like where you would draw the lines? Can you have a black metal kindergarten? Can you have black metal bingo? Can you have black metal this and that? Where does it gets limited so it makes sense and so forth?
I think it would help if we were able to maybe look at it. Jackie, have you got the page up there or anything at all?
Yeah, I do actually.
Maybe
So it's called
if
Drag
you can just
Music.
give us the actual definition and description of what the event is that Jerry's talking about.
For anybody watching it on YouTube, I think I should be able to share this as well. Just give me 10 seconds, and then I will.
Inferno Drag Show, was it that called?
Yeah, it's called it's called Drag Music Bingo.
Wow.
Yeah, there we go. All right.
Oh yeah.
And there's Drag Music Bingo. It says here presented by Cheyenne of the band Privax.
I can really see as three of us, being in that picture.
Yeah. But yeah, it says here, you might wonder what music bingo is. Imagine the love child of a music quiz and bingo. That's your answer. Guess which song the host plays, find the corresponding number, and cross it off on your ticket until you have 5 in a row. You'll get a list of songs, all of them metal, with some even from bands performing at the festival next year. There'll be multiple prizes you can win, so let's put your musical ear to the test. This bingo will be hosted by Drag King Eric Sean and Drag Queen Faye Goth, the metal king and queen of Norway.
Why do they both have beards?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's this cultural appropriation when it's metal king and queen at the same time.
I mean, yeah, I don't quite understand it. I don't necessarily feel mad about it. I just don't get it. I know a lot of people got really upset about this, didn't they? That's why I wanted to bring it up, because I wanted to make sure that I actually understood correctly what it was. So it's a bingo thing. I mean, I don't particularly understand how it relates to maybe a black metal event, but I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Now, that's why I wanted to mention is that to me, it isn't like it isn't infuriating. It doesn't annoy me. What seemed to be annoying to some people, that it's drag. It's more about the bingo part. Like, I mean, I get it. Music is for all. Art is for all. And I don't give a fuck whether you are, woman, man, or non-binary. I don't really care. To be honest, that concerned me the least. But the bingo part, that's where I get like, what the fuck? I mean, like, seriously speaking, I get it. You want to expand your territory when you're a festival. You want to make sure that there is more activities than just the festival evenings. And I get there. That's why they are pre-clubs. That's where these conferences. And why I feel it's borderline, getting in contradiction with when we're talking about extreme metal. I still kind of like, okay, I get it. This is the kind of a media event related to stuff. So while Eric of Watain was very, very against it, as much as I could understand his point of view, I could say, yeah, I can totally understand it from the media point of view. But then again, bingo, kindergarten, this black metal tour, bus tours and whatever. And I'm like, how much there is this because of money? How much this is because of you just have to expand, like the financial pressure, and if so, where does it stop? Like, are you gonna? I remember from this black metal documentary you must have seen some few years ago, the Helvete one, which was revolving about a Norwegian black metal thing, but was kind of a cut off pretty quickly after the 2 Mayhem episodes and a little bit Dark Throne and whatever. And then the last episode, you would see these candles which are made in the churches, like, hey, you get to burn these candles down like as if they were real churches, like, yay. It's almost like whatever is going with the Christmas over commercialized things, I mean, we're not talking about Coca-Cola trucks with the Christmas Santa Claus things anymore. We're talking about black metal and Coca-Cola trucks. In essence, you're just basically selling tourist stuff to people who were not signing up for that in a way.
Yeah, I think it's just a bit of a mismatch, personally. Like I said, I don't necessarily feel mad about it. To me, them as obviously it's Norway, so it's automatically associated with black metal, even though not every band that's playing a festival is even black metal. But even then, there's still I feel like there's a certain sort of curriculum, as you put it, that kind of goes with that. So to me, this is like the same as maybe booking a band like, just off the top of my head, Ailstorm. It's like getting someone like that to come in and then do like pirate metal or whatever to a bunch of Mayhem fans. It's just like a bit of a mismatch. So I've been to other festivals where maybe this kind of thing would work better. Like, for example, we played at Frantic Fest in Italy last year, and that was a great little festival, open air. And they had obviously a bunch of great fucking bands playing there as well, but then they're like kind of split it up a little bit. And I think that those kind of like events maybe could get away with this sort of thing a little bit better, but they still had like their darker stuff as well. They still had Marduk and Darvaza and Terrorizer and us. Obviously, we were, they were smart enough to put us all on the same day, which I think was kind of clever how they designed the lineup. And then on another day, you had like Cynic and a bunch of other bands playing, that were maybe a bit more of that side of things. I think that's clever. That's cool. I like it when festivals are so intentional with what they put together. But then sometimes I think you make a really absolutely valid point of, for example, do they do it because it's like a cultural sort of virtue signaling that you have to do to stay relevant as an event? Is it financial? I think that's a really good point. What I would probably suggest doing, which I would love to see this, and I would be more than happy to host this since I am now officially known as that metal coach, is having group fucking gym sessions at festivals that you get to sign up to.
Can you imagine having black metal yoga sessions like they were in the United States for a few years ago? Even my ex-girlfriend, who is a yoga instructor nowadays, she was sending me lists. Jerry, have you heard of black metal yoga? And I'm like, what the fuck? Don't get me wrong. I love being, healthy and exercising and all that stuff, but it's not like I am like, this is mayhem-based black metal powerlifting sessions. These squats are, sponsored by Marduk. Let's bring those Panzer Division Marduk legs into the game. Like,
yeah,
but
I don't think that's quite as bad as yoga is maybe more of a mismatch than I think. Because to me personally, just saying that, I don't want to interrupt Jack because I know he had something to say as well. But to me personally, I think the power element of black metal or death metal, when you kind of, especially when you go to that realm where it's sort of like the lines get blurred, like like the likes of Angel Corpse or Dead Congregation, those kind of bands. You listen to that, you want to fucking lift. You want to lift heavy and you want to fuck shit up. Or if you listen to Blasphemy, it's like the perfect band for it, And to me, I think there's a much more interesting parallel there that is to be explored. And maybe yoga, I don't think it's quite the right thing, maybe, but I think there is room for that, and it could work if it's done right. And I'm happy to be at the front of it. Just saying that.
I'm pretty indifferent towards stuff like drag music bingo. Because I couldn't reasonably sit here and say, hey, you can't tell me I can't go watch Impale Nazarene or I can't go watch Horner, but I think you're a fucking douche for going to drag music bingo. If people want to do that, they can do that. But there is a fine line between added activity or I don't know what you call them, bonus features and the whole kind of square peg round hole thing. What I've never personally liked, I have a reflexive distaste for any kind of navel gazing, and for any I don't like things where, if I think about like something I really dislike, and it's not, I can't, it would be hard. I'm going to probably stutter and stammer you like a fool trying to explain it, but something like the World Metal Congress, I've always hated the idea of it, because I think to myself, like, this isn't a fucking political movement. This isn't some social movement. This is an artistic expression. A lot of it is experienced at quite a solo level. And by the way, like, none of what you're doing here is changing the world. Like, it's not, don't make this something that it's not. You know, this is an expression of rebellion. Stop trying to shove it into these boxes that make it palatable for the outside world, because in some ways I feel like you're almost going, you want to be able to turn around and say, oh, well, you know, look at what we've done. Yeah, it's so great. Everyone is safe. Everyone's happy. Everyone feels included. The Inferno Music Conference, Cheyenne and I were part of it last year. I thought that both of the panels that, or the panels that I were on, I enjoyed being a part of. You know,
same here.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, now do I care about stuff like you know, boutique indoor festivals as a heading? Absolutely not. I don't have to go, but you know, do I give a shit about it? No. Would I like, if I organized my own festival, I would probably want to do stuff that from a fan perspective really enriches the experience. More live interviews, you know, getting interesting people to come and talk about stuff they've done. Like I made the suggestion that Necro's Horns should do, there should be a live podcast with him, because you literally go, tell me the story about X, then you sit back and an hour later he's still like telling you what happened.
Yeah. He can go.
I mean, he's like one of the best dudes ever. But he has something interesting and enriching to share. Sometimes I feel like some of the things they want to talk about, it's just not really, appropriate for the occasion. You know what I mean? And I might be completely wrong. Maybe that's just my taste. But it's like I said, it feels like it's trying to sanitize something that does not require and really shouldn't be sanitized at all.
Now, that's what I want to say, is that, like, for Inferno, I love the festival and I like the atmosphere. And for example, when there's this tattoo part or convention, makes total sense. After all, a lot of these tattoo artists are more or less tied to metal by the very definition. Like, for, say, a couple of years ago, there was this Bilzer guy. Bilzer was performing as the headliner at John D. And the next day he was doing tattoos for, I don't know, visitors in general. So these kind of things, in my opinion, are very, very much like tied to one another. And obviously we see these tattoo conventions and Beyond the Gates as well. For my domestic level, Steelfest, there has always been this, not always, but many years now, these kind of a blacksmith things. So they can pretty much, you know, sell, say, you know, some, I don't know if cast iron, but iron, steel, whatever, necklaces, you know, which are fitting. They can be, I don't know, Viking things or pagan things, but or whatever, just, you know, you get the idea. But I mean, these are very much, like, in my opinion, hand in hand. But if someone was doing, say, craft chocolate things, you know, with some church arson logos or whatever, I would feel a little bit like, what? I mean, I get it. Say they are selling some whatever reindeer kebab things in at Inferno. Because what the fuck, those animals live there, and it's more like domestic food. But then again, they are not really tugging, this is the black metal kebab, because it has nothing to do with that. It is something to do with Norway, and since we are in Norway, it makes fucking sense. But trying to, you know, make things related to extreme metal when they're not, but just trying to, you know, like Jackie put it nicely, a bonus feature, which is like, this is not relevant to it. So I mean, it's like weird. If Cheyenne was doing, say, a I don't know, some kind of a core class in the Clarion Hotel or nowadays Strawberry Hotel gym room.
I love your pronunciation of the word hotel.
I would feel it's a bit weird, but then again, I would say also it has more relevance than any kind of a bingo. And let me make it clear before, because there are these hate sayers and naysayers. Yeah, this is not about the drag thing. I don't give a fuck. At least the drag people look like they're part of the metal community with their their kind of a metal look. Maybe it's more glam look if you really are serious about it, or gothic look, with the fishnets and strong makeup. I don't give a fuck whether it's a beard or not. That's beyond. But the bingo part is already like, really? Do we need a bingo? I mean, I get it. It's for elder people and people who have nothing to do. But at Inferno, well, it's a city full of history that is either related or not related to metal is beyond the point. But I mean, you have all the time in the world to explore the city, go to the night shift clubs, go to see the fucking Viking museums, or just, I don't know, sleep late. And then you go to bingo. Oh, this is Gehenna song. Nice. Number 5.
Yeah. No, I think it's one of them. It's probably like an idea that looked good on the paper, and then maybe by the time the poster came out, I think the internet reaction to it said otherwise.
Yeah. They did it last year though. Because I remember them like really pushing it on Instagram, like everyone's having the best time at drag music bingo. I'm sure they are. But just like a great example of, in my view, mistiming, not knowing your audience. I mean, I can't remember which year it was, but one of the topics of one of the conference or seminars was open air festivals about climate change. Now, like if I want to desperately find out about climate change, then I will go to a place where there are scientists and experts that can provide me with expert opinions on it. Not some fucking guy in a Immortal t-shirt sitting there telling me, oh, we need to really stop climate change. Okay, are you going to stop all open air festivals? The average open air festival emits 500 tons of carbon dioxide. So a lot of the stuff it's just people that love the sound of their own voice, and I think that's part of what I dislike about it so much. I dislike it for the exact same reason as the many think pieces and fucking bullshit articles that people in Kerrang and other garbage magazines write about, it's unfair that this band wasn't included in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it's a disgrace that Iron Maiden aren't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah,
this is music for rebels, for fucking badasses, not for this bullshit, not for these wimps.
Now, talking of which, bonus feature I would rather see, if it was possible, say, given this Strawberry Hotel, which is the very, very heart of things, at Inferno, for example, and since there is this bar where sometimes there are these, I don't know, piano players or just some, whatever, selling secondhand items for this and that. What I would rather see is, like, for example, either of you guys having questions and answer sessions, maybe with even some, I don't know, band member or other scene veteran doing a thing, because that would be more like tied to the scene. So if it was, say, Jackie here, okay, there was this guy, say Frost or whatever, some Oslo-based artist, or could be a label people, it doesn't matter. Someone who knows the scene and someone who knows to ask the questions. Someone would say, hey, the lady with the red hair, you have a question? And then someone could ask the question. Those would keep us engaged. We could have the beers by the hotel bar, and we could be engaged, like, okay, now we're getting some anecdotes. Now we're getting some history lessons. So more like kind of a conference, but more also laid back ways. And these kind of stuff, like you mentioned, live interviews, these kind of things would, in my opinion, add to a lot of extra value to a lot of festivals. And I'm not saying this that I should be the guy. I probably even don't want to be the guy, but I'm saying in general, what, in my opinion, festivals could do is to engage a lot of influencers or traditional journalists in order to, make the whole community work more knit together, if that makes sense. Because there's so much things that, where the knowledge could be shared and people could learn a thing or two, especially when you are, say, a lot younger. So maybe you're 25 years old and you come to the Inferno for the first time, And then there is some 60-year-old guy who has been saying, like, I've been since here the first time. I could tell you a story or two. So kind of like grandpa telling you a story kind of a thing could be, in my opinion, way more worthwhile than some like, hey, let's add up some, I don't know, like a tabletop gaming session to this.
Well, I think also just to illustrate the point of what we're saying, particularly around the wrong audience or wrong time, wrong place. I love stand-up comedy. I would fucking hate seeing stand-up comedy at the Inferno conference. I'd hate it. I don't even give a shit. My favorite stand-up comedian, Dave Chappelle, if they said, Dave Chappelle live at the Inferno conference, I'd go, this is the fucking most atrocious thing I've ever heard of in my entire life.
But would it work if it was Mr. Hughes, who used to play in the Australian?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Here's what would work for me. I made the suggestion. Sadly, it's not going to happen this year because just of scheduling. But the one suggestion that I'd made is, live interview. I would do it with Attila on Tormentor. Just talk purely about, how Tormentor got started. He just share all your fucking craziest stories, do a Q&A with the audience. But stuff like that would be interesting.
Exactly. And of course, we're talking about beyond these Norwegian festivals. So in case somebody is now wondering, well, how come they are not talking about this? I think there is a reason why we're going to these rather cornerstones of black metal festivals. There are things like money and budget and bands in general, which are right there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I think that either way, you still want to support the events that you want to go to, and at the end of the day, people don't have to go to these things, But I think it's important, it's good. One thing that I can say for sure is that attending the festivals abroad and going to the likes of Inferno and some of the other places that obviously I've had the privilege of being invited to play, and then when that happens, you get to see more places than you did maybe as a listener. But even as a listener, I think it's definitely worth doing that because it does broaden your horizons just culturally as well, and you get to see more stuff. You get to meet so many fucking cool people. But also the thing that ultimately you realize, I said this actually when we did the conference, is that a lot of us, we say we're antisocial or misanthropes or whatever, I think that when you're at a festival or at a gig, because you're surrounded by people who are all wearing black shirts and stuff, there's a part of you that just thinks, oh my god, there's so many fucking people here, wow, and we're everywhere. But we're not everywhere. We're still a very, very small percentage of the population that are putting on these events, that are going to these events, that are playing this style of music. And if you look at it from the grand scheme of things, heavy metal, and especially extreme metal, is still in an extreme minority. So I think that we should at the very least cherish that and understand that connection that we can find there is quite a special one. So it's good to support the shows. It's good to go to these gigs. It's good to go to the different events. It's good to tune into these kind of podcasts because, as I said earlier, it's all about that connection. And with that said, it's been an absolute fucking pleasure speaking to both of you gentlemen this evening. It's been a real blast.
That is the fastest 3 hours I can recall in a very long time.
Absolutely.
I really, really enjoyed that. I was looking at the time earlier. I was like, holy shit, like we've been at it for 3 hours, 4 minutes as things stand right now.
And Cheyenne, even without a beer.
That's it. Yeah, I've got a homemade pizza that kind of helped me get through it. I've got my own little invention here. Managed to have a couple of bites, but yeah, man, it's been really cool talking to you guys. And you know what? I look forward to Beyond the Gates because I know now that all three of us are gonna be there, and we get to fucking train together and lift, and I think it's that's gonna be particularly fun.
We're gonna need to shoot a whole video of that. I think
we do. Well, I'm gonna start doing that. Yeah, I'm doing that
on
for
the Into the Necrosphere OnlyFans that I'm gonna be creating.
I mean, I know we're saying that it's not exactly the most original idea because I know Jerry already did that with Blood Chalice some years ago. But yeah, I think it'll be cool to do some like gym interviews and that kind of stuff. It will be cool. All right.
The other thing that we should try and do at some point down the road is we should try and go to a US festival as well. Because like for me, you were talking about going to Norwegian festivals and stuff like that. Part of it for me is the social thing. There's a lot of people that I know. It's nice to catch up with folks. There's a fuckload of people that we know in the States, like Cheyenne, you and I for sure. And I'm pretty confident if we go to Hell's Heroes and we put out the call and say we're going to be there, there'll be a bunch of the homies that show up there as well. And that would be a blast.
Absolutely. And shout out to Christian as well. He's a fucking great guy, and he's putting up one of like the best festivals in the US alongside MDF, like no question.
Well, dude, I'm just looking at the lineup right now. I mean, Abath, Cavalera Conspiracy, fucking brilliant. Samael, obviously, if I were running that festival, you only play songs of Blood Ritual or Ceremony of Opposites, or you get the right hand. Sadus, although they'd probably be canceling now. Exciter, brilliant. Primordial, brilliant. Coroner, fucking excellent. Hyrax, great. Apsu, awesome. Goat Whore. It's a sick lineup.
Yeah, there we go. Great festival. Any of the US fans, go check it out. They probably already know. Anyway, gentlemen, anything, any plugs or anything to wrap this up before we go off?
Looking at the list, what we had here pretty much covered every major topic. We were talking about one festival I wanted to mention earlier before we kind of got the road line, was that this year I'm going to Acrorontic Arts in Germany, which is a week before Inferno, and that kind of seems a little bit weird adventure considering that there are no major players in the scene in that sense. But what I found fascinating personally, that's why I wanted to mention it, is that sometimes when you like you mentioned at the festival in Barcelona, Cheyenne, is that sometimes you see certain bands. Like I was looking at this list and I was like, okay, there are a bunch of bands which I could potentially see in, say, at Beyond the Gate and Inferno, because there are some Norwegian names, but a lot of these names don't really seem to appear on my radar, whether it's about Beyond the Gate, whether it's Inferno, whether it's Steelfest. And while these are kind of three different festivals catering to three different needs, and we're talking about still mostly about black metal and death metal, it's also funny to see that the amount of bands is so vast that whenever you kind of step out of your comfort zone and go to a, say, new festival to your own personal level, it might be that there is something, totally kind of unexpected. For example, in this case, it's not like the lineup is like fantastic or super sick, which we could say about, Beyond the Gates or Steelfest, in my opinion, but it's just something different. I don't know if it's going to be worth my money and all that stuff, but sometimes I guess, for the lack of a better word, I need to take this leap of faith to just go to different places. And like I said, if we were only showering in a lot of money, Jeff Bezos, hear this out, you should send three of us to various different places, because there's so many cool festivals which I know each of us would like to feature if that was only possible in budget and time wise. But we are kind of bound to make very, very selected few ones, because time is of the essence, money is of the essence. And whatever people are saying, okay, these fucking stupid influencers on their relative podcasts or YouTube channels, they're just, having the free press tickets. And I'm like, if you only know what we fucking know, it's like, it's cheaper to have your own band. And at least that way you're going to get some tickets and, plane tickets and whatever to a festival, even if you know that it's going to be just one day and the rest of the stay, more like you have to figure it out. But for the rest of us, it's like more like figuring out, talk to the boss with the, vacation, figure out where you're going to take the money for, the plane tickets and accommodations and all that stuff. And so I want to do a little bit of myth busting here. In essence, is that no matter how much known we might be in the underground to a selected few, and how many ideas they might be getting into their heads, like these guys are just, they don't have real jobs, they're just talking about music and they're so fucking, whatever, privileged in their jobs. They're like, fuck, man. Every person I know playing in a band, every person I know hosting a podcast or doing their own blog or whatever, they're still paying the bills with the day job. And the rest is like just figuring out how to play this puzzle piece, figuring out where to go in order to do interviews and whatever stuff, coverage, so that people hopefully will not be that hateful with their comments. So in a way, I kept this joke going for now for a while, that in a way I kind of hope that I get canceled, so then I get more free time. Like so many reviews and so many fucking interviews and all that stuff. Even I like it, even it's passion almost as big as playing no band. But in a way, I also feel like we've been digging our hole so deep that now we are so invested in all this passion that we kind of have to do it. Even sometimes it feels like we're just, how the saying goes from the old story, we're fighting the windmills and we're not really winning here. So while we are privileged in a way, we're also not.
Well, to me, I think it absolutely does make sense. You actually make a really good point. I've never even thought to even bring this up, but yeah, you're very right. All of these events still cost exorbitant amounts of personal money, and that's you might get a free festival pass, which, by the way, is still a fucking honor to get that, because I'm still a big fan. Doesn't matter how big the channel gets, doesn't matter how big the band gets, I'm still a fan, and I always will be. So getting like a free pass like that and an invitation is still absolutely an honor.
Yes.
But what that also comes with is paying for flights and paying for hotels and or hodels, as you like to say, and and also like with different, like with the food, with the gyms, all these different things that we have to like spend lots of money on. But the thing of it is that ultimately you're doing it because, like you said, you love it, and to me, one very, very valuable and beautiful thing that's come of doing the podcasting. I don't know if I'm going to be doing this forever. Okay. My priority always has been and will be Trivex above all of the other endeavors. Absolutely. But doing this podcast has been such a beautiful thing, because what it's done for me is it's allowed for, having great conversations that aren't just for the sake of content, but I genuinely learn from them. And also, more importantly than that, I've become friends with like some of the best fucking people that I ever know. And that includes obviously both of you. You're absolutely. And I think that, and I'm not just saying that as well. I think that's a really valuable thing, and what it does is that, not just for me as the podcast host or the conductor, but also for the listeners, it reminds you, hey, you're not on your own. There's other people who have the same passions as you do. There's other people who think the same about these things. And the world constantly tries to make us feel that we're isolated and we're on our own, and we're fucking not. So that's why it's important to have these voices and bring it together. Now, all the festival passes and conferences and all the promotion and all the viewerships and sponsors and all that stuff that's great, nice. That has its own place. But at the core of it is this stuff that we've got here, and I think it's I appreciate it a lot, and I appreciate you both coming on here this evening.
Just to say about Into the Necrosphere and money. I mean, I've got a career that keeps me very, very busy. So I've gone out of my way from the start to say, not only do I not intend to make any money with, do I not intend to make zero money with this podcast. I've turned down people that wanted to sponsor the show. I will never have a Patreon. I'll never do anything like that. But principally because I do this because I enjoy doing it. I want to be able to say exactly what I want. I never want to be in a situation where I've, been on the news rant, insulted a band's music that, is on a particular label that's sponsoring the podcast, and now suddenly I have to pull back from that. So even if it got to a point where 50 people listened to the podcast and it was, I was only doing the news rant, I'd still do it because I love doing it. But it will never, ever, ever be about money. And, everything I do, whether it's going to Inferno, whether it's doing anything, it costs me money. I do it because I love doing it.
And I think it's worth mentioning because so many people have the misconception that just because you have a band, just because you have a podcast or YouTube channel or whatever, things are not happening for free. And while I'm not just trying to use this as justification what we do, I think more importantly what you said, Jackie, is that we do this out of passion. Now, personally, I have a Patreon for example, on Rauta, and I always say that whenever you people decide to do this or that, I mean, that's always used for travels. For example, in our case, it means paying the fees for the accommodation and flights, which I wish was a little bit cheaper because then we could do more stuff. But like you were mentioning, Cheyenne, about hotels, yeah, for Inferno, it's about hotel because the hotel is so fucking super cheap. Makes no sense to do Airbnb. For Beyond the Gates, hotels are obviously pretty much off the table, and that goes for Steelfest and whatnot. And so when people are saying, you're doing the influencer lifestyle, I'm like, fuck you. My lifestyle is mostly budgeted by day job, just like everybody else.
Absolutely. And by the way, the hotel in Inferno is actually fucking amazing. I've never been to a place where it's a 5-star hotel and you walk in and they're playing Bathory while fucking bad. So I love that place. Yeah.
And the thing that the people need to know is just because during Easter, Oslo is pretty much dead. So it's like basically the off season why it's so cheap. So when you compare the hotel prices to say Beyond the Gate, which is basically seasonal thing in Norway still. I mean, after all, early August, late July is still, very much a Nordic hotel season. You see the prices, it's like 3 or 4 times Inferno, which is the Easter time. So it's not really comparable. And even the same thing obviously applies to, Finland. When you compare the prices, even at Steelfest, which is mid-May and not really the holiday season, and then you compare to whatever June, July, August, and suddenly things are like off the board. So people really need to think a couple of times before they jump into the conclusions with everything about money and all that stuff. But that's, I guess, the usual stuff for people who actually do traveling instead of just banging their keyboard in anger.
Absolutely. Yeah. Listen, man, to me, it's a privilege to even get to see one live show. And I try and remind myself of that, even though I've seen so many gigs since I moved to the UK. I've seen everyone I ever wanted to see, except Motorhead. Everyone else I got to see, and I've seen so many fucking gigs. I'm constantly at different venues and different backstage and stuff, but I always remind myself, and it's like I gotta pinch myself. It's like I come from somewhere where I wasn't even allowed to see one gig, so it's all a privilege. None of it is taken for granted. And should we wrap this one up? I think now's a good time to finish off the episode.
Guys, before we wrap up, are there some people you want to give a shout out because of good talks, good memories, or something? I just came to my mind because Jackie mentioned Spellgoth. Spellgoth, you're being mentioned here.
Hell yeah.
Favorite people I've spoken to,
or just people that made your year 2024 in general.
2024, King Fowley of Deceased. That was an interview that I did where I came off and I literally sat in fucking stunned silence for about a half an hour, and I sat thinking to myself, how am I ever going to top what just happened now?
That was a great episode. Yeah,
it
really
was so much fun. Swartolf, just a dude I instantly kicked it off, hit it off with, and obviously he organized that Gehenna reunion conversation, which was awesome. And actually, I mean, I don't pay a huge amount of attention to numbers, but it did really well. And I think Spellgoth was one of my favorites as well. And then I always love talking to the two of you. I always feel what I love about these conversations with the two of you. I always feel energized when I come off of it. I feel fired up. So,
hell yeah. I'm trying to think who I want to give my shout out to. By the way, Jackie, that feeling is absolutely mutual right now. I feel less tired now than I did before we started this conversation. Actually, I just want to give a shout out. He's never been on the podcast yet. Actually, we'll probably arrange that at some point. But I want to give a shout out to Atash from Kabus. the gentleman who I mentioned, who is in Norway currently. He's a black metal artist like myself, and he's actually in a situation that's quite difficult, and he's facing deportation because, you know, he's had a bunch of threats because of the music that he's played. He's actually quite radically sort of anti-religious in his music as well. I don't even necessarily have the same approach in my own music, but he certainly does. And you know, he had a bunch of threats, you know, and people like fucking messaging him like crazy Revolutionary Guard people. But yeah, the important thing, like all of that is aside, you know, it doesn't matter, you know, it's something that, you know, it'll be what it is, you know, and I fully support him on that. But I just want to give him a shout out because he's actually quite a young guy, and he's quite brave, and he's fighting, you know, he's basically fighting for his life, you know, and it's a scary situation for a lot of people to be in. But also, you know what, it also builds character as well. So yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Atesh from the band Kabus. And if people haven't checked out his album, Anti-Cosmic Rebellion, I'm actually supporting him by releasing it through Iblis Manifestations. You know, even though Iblis isn't classically a label, I'm going to be releasing it through here. So yeah, he's just at his recent court, so fingers crossed for him. It'll be some good news, and hopefully by the time these Norwegian festivals happen, he'll be able to come along, and I'll introduce him to both of you guys as well. It'll be cool.
Yeah, awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So
FYI, Jerry, just to reminder as well, this is the guy that played the Talke cover outside the Iranian embassy. Not sure if you've seen that.
I haven't.
Yeah.
I've got to check it out.
Yeah.
No, because I got the last chance to talk here. I guess I would, in general, thank everybody out there, you who are the nameless ones, who keep going to festivals, who keep checking out our relative own platforms, podcasts, whatever. And of course, all you promoters who have been supporting, you know, whoever we are here, Cheyenne, Jackie, me, that goes to Inferno, that goes Beyond the Gates, that goes to Steelfest, that goes to those unnamed warriors, Turku Saatanalla guys, everybody who has been always been on the same page with us, you know, spreading the message of metal music, be it extreme or less extreme, doesn't matter. The people we get to interview last few years, all of us included, all the guys who wanted to, you know, speak for yourselves, for your bands, for your art, for this tribal rebellious movement with your different opinions, who were not afraid to approach the world with your own takes, whether about its more musical take, whether it's about more lyrical take, whatever. All you people who made some kind of a change on personal level or in a bigger scale, this big shout out goes to you. Keep the fucking engine rolling and stay fucking metal, stay true to what you are, and stay honest. If you decide to go bullshit, at least be honest about it. And this is my shout out to you in general level. You can cancel me now. I don't care.
That goes for all three of us. Fuck yeah, man. Love it. Perfect.
All right, and
words.
people, this is, I guess, a good reason, also a good place to remember. Check out Into the Necrosphere. Check out Trivax. Check out Iblis Manifestation. Check out Rauta. Check out everything you have here. You don't have to like anything we say. You have to check out everything we do. But give it a little bit go here and there, and maybe we will talk some sense to you, or at least present people who do talk some sense to you. And with that, I hope to see you people on the road. If you see Jackie, if you see Cheyenne, if you see me, come pull us by the sleeve, come say hello, and let's see where that leads. Is that okay?
Let's fucking go. Hell yeah. Been a pleasure,
right,
gentlemen. Much respect to you both. Hell yeah.
Thank you so much,
Thanks, guys.
Fist
Bye.
bump.
Boom.
All right.
There we go.
Good night. Good day.